Welcome to the Uncivil Mentality Podcast. I'm Erik Vidal.
And I'm Reilly Kilbride.
Let's go. Let's go.
Are we good? We are good. Yeah, so this is a different episode of the Uncivil Mentality Podcast. Erik and I have our significant others on here today. Obviously, you can tell we are extremely blessed. Before these women tear us to shreds, we want to say we are super grateful for them, and they are the real MVPs of our life.
Amen.
I'm not here to rip you to shreds, so
okay.
You're setting yourself up for that, but I'm not.
We talked about this episode, and I think people can relate to having a significant other that's a first responder or a family member that's a first responder. So we kind of want to just open it up to the ladies. How is it to have two significant others that are first responders? Like, what comes to your mind when you have to deal with our relationships?
Mel, you want to take it first, or
No, I want to hear what you have to say. Longer.
I want to hear what you have to say.
I'm new to this, so let's hear you.
Yes. Did you say you're new to it?
Yeah, I mean we've been together for a year. How long?
Okay, a year. Well, so we met I've known Reilly since 2012, and our journey began in 2012, and then years together is, somewhere, who knows?
Mm-hmm.
But you've been a firefighter now for
3 years.
3 years. It's tough. I mean, I think the shift work is hard in the sense of Reilly's department. And I think, Erik, yours might be the same, 24/48. Yeah?
Correct.
And so
448 with a day off every third week. So there's a Kelly day or a CR day every third week. So.
Oh, cool. So what does that give you in a row? It gives you...
Damn. Initially, I don't know the answer to that, but I know it's 2 weeks. And
Like
that's
you'll get 5 days in a row, I'm thinking?
a little bit over that, maybe.
Okay.
I did the math. But
Okay.
yeah, that CR day, that Kelly day is needed.
Right. Well, see, Reilly's department, it is 24/48 till the end of time kind of thing, unless you take a day.
That's rough.
Well,
To our testament, we're a fairly large department, and we cover a lot of area, and calls range from anything and everything under the sun.
Sure.
So if it was 24/48 to the end of time, the attrition rate would be phenomenal.
Yeah. And this is me not dogging on Lexington County whatsoever, fire department. But it's tough for 24/48, but it's all we know. So like that's what he started out as. The grass always seems greener, right? You can hear what other departments do, and so 48.96 sounds so much better because I get my husband for 4 days and we get to sleep in the same bed for 4 days in a row. But I would say there's that layer to it. When he first started working, the risk of what he does for sure was top of mind. And then I have had to work to like put it in my subconscious so it's not in my forefront. So frankly, when he goes to work, I don't think about it whatsoever. We have a good open communication of like when he first started, he would reach out to me during his shift days. So I'm not the one texting him or reaching out to him, because then if I don't get a response back, I think that's when my thoughts would start to go. So I just leave the day as like, I'm not going to talk to Reilly. And if I get a text from him, it's great, which we talk we talk throughout his shift. We can go into more depth, but all in all, it's pretty tough. Just like managing a household, managing a gym. Our lives are so intertwined outside of the fire department that it becomes a lot on the spouse when they're gone. But also, it makes it worth it because the joy that fire brings him, and I know it's his passion and it's what he's meant to be doing is serving others in that capacity. It just, I do what I need to do on the home front so that he can do what he loves to do. So, yeah.
No, yeah, that's great. And like that that little piece that you said about like how to communicate while he's at work because you don't really want to bother him or things like that. Like I think those are things that spouses or family members kind of need to know because we don't want to bother, at the end of
True.
the day, but we do want to have like some sort of communication. I think for me, like the learning process was like getting off of shift and I'm hyped up, it's a new day, I got rest, I'm good to go. And then Erik walks in, but he's gone like 3 to 5 calls in a night, and like and he's tired. And how do we combat, like, me just chill, Mel, just relax, do your thing, let Erik take a nap if he needs to, or work out, or do whatever he needs to do in order to like make the best of the next 2 days, which like he always talks about how you have 24 hours 48 off, but like really it's not 48 off, because like the first 16 hours of your off shift, like you're just trying to catch up to life.
Yes.
And I'll tell you one thing, I couldn't be a shift worker
Mm,
because I'm just not good when I don't sleep. Like
mm.
5 hours sleep and I'm falling apart, so I
I'm
give it
with
up
you,
to
my
you
friend.
guys.
Megan is a sleep queen.
Yes.
So for a long time, she wore the Whoop bracelet to track her sleep. She would hit 100% of her sleep need for probably close to a year.
Oh yeah. I mean, I had this. It wasn't a question whether I was going to hit it or not, but I totally agree with that. Another thing I admire about Reilly is his ability to come off shift, do what he needs to do to reset and be present for his day, and then he's present for his day. Whereas if I put myself in his shoes, I sometimes have to remind myself of that. Would I be as present and as just awesome as he is if I did what he did for the last 24 hours? And most of the time, the answer is no. I would be like, I'm tired. I'm cranky. Like I would complain a lot. And he doesn't complain. He really is grateful for everything he does in his life. Meaning, like, when he comes off shift, he doesn't ever take a nap. It's always like eat, sweat, come to the gym, help us out, be a hand. And there's times of different scheduling, but I just have to remind myself when I get on like I guess a tangent, or I'm like, I have a to-do list today. Just being mindful of like what he's encountered in the last 24 hours. So as a partner, there's so much consciousness that comes to being partners with a first responder. And so it's just been a personal growth journey for me. And some days I do really well at it, and some days I'm not the best.
And some days I'm an asshole.
Yeah.
Some days I'm not my best person, and so, thankfully she gives me the grace to sometimes not be my best. I think there's a lot of equal side like forgiveness that has to happen. Like you're like, okay, look, we had a little tiff this morning. Let's move on. Like I'm cranky, you've got something going on too. We just need to have a goldfish mentality and just move on.
Yeah. Have y'all like explored communication within the last year of like what that looks like when you need to communicate to one another of like, hey, I need time, or hey, I'm good, like, or is that something you're still
She's gonna get deep
navigating?
with the questions, you guys. I hope
No,
you're
no, I love this.
ready.
No,
Eric's
this
face
is
is
great.
like, I'm
I
gonna
think I
jump
think this
off
is
the
great.
building.
So like at the beginning, I was like, it was more of like a feeling it out thing, because you're getting to know a person. So I didn't know how he reacted out of sleep, like with no sleep. Um, so it was definitely just feeling it out. I think after a while, I got like the sense that like the first 16 hours are critical. Like let him sleep if he has to sleep, let him go work out if he has to work out. A lot of the time he would go straight to practice, to either RIT or just go train. So then he would get back from training and he would really be depleted.
Mm-hmm.
But again, like wouldn't wouldn't say anything, would just go about his day. What do you think? What do you?
No, yeah, I mean, as first responders and shift workers, we have to like reset. We can't like, bring all that back. We can't bring all that baggage home with us, and we have to like let some of that go as we transition into home life. And I do the best I can, man. But I'm only human,
Yeah.
and my coping mechanisms are again training. going straight to the training center training and then just exhaust or whatever energy I have left or whatever, calls or I feel were uncompleted or just kind of just like leave everything at the training center as compared to bringing it on my drive home and then finally getting home and then unleashing the wrath of, uh, what I just experienced because our family members definitely don't deserve that. But yeah, you see these memes sometimes like, be patient with a first responder. First and foremost, I just want to sleep. Please, for the love of God, just let me sleep. And that's how, like, when I wake up, I'll most likely be reset and then ready for, my day. But yeah, man, it's just not easy to coexist, when you're expected to do so much and then, you want something in return, right? Some compassion or some empathy towards what you just went through. And sometimes spouses don't even like understand or comprehend what we just experienced, and it's no fault of them, and we try to like, or at least I try to like shield them from whatever I just experienced and try to absorb whatever happened on shift and, as a filter, right? To not like perceive or impose my thoughts or my negativity onto them. But I mean, it's not easy, man. It's not, so we try to.
I think we're lucky, or I think we've done something right to have exercise be our outlet. Exercise, training, having goals outside of the fire service, all of that stuff. I always say like my first sweat after a shift is like a rinse. Like I rinse my brain, rinse my thoughts, rinse my last 12 hours of work. And after I rinse, I feel good. Like I'm ready to, do what we need to do here at the gym, do what we need like with life. But if I don't have the rinse, it's tough. It's harder. My fuse is shorter. I'm
Yeah,
cranky. I'm hungry.
and
I
totally
kind of get,
understandable.
yeah,
Totally
it's tough.
understandable. So that rinse thing that you just spoke of, I think that's a better term for what I was calling it. I was just like at a loss for words. I was just going down into
You're
a
elevated.
tangent. I was
No,
going into,
well, but you said something powerful to me, and it was pretty vulnerable. Of when you're a first responder, I feel like there's a piece. He's never vocalized this, but I feel like there's a piece where there is this desire for wanting empathy for what you've gone through without voicing it, and I feel like sometimes the stigma could be like, I've got it. I can wear it all. I can do it all. Compartmentalize. You have the things in place like your training or things that help you rinse, or as Reilly also uses, like he does this term of like rinse the sponge, like drain the sponge out, right? His sponge is super saturated when he gets off shift and he just needs to drain it all to like be able to sleep well at night. And so though he's never voiced that, I feel like as a partner, it is important to be empathetic to what he has gone through and acknowledge it verbally of like, hey, I know you've probably had a really hard day. Or I always check in of like, how was your day? He can be as open or as closed as he needs to be with it, but allowing your partner some like insight into what you have gone through allows them to be more empathetic and be able to vocalize that to, I would say, my partner of like, I get it. It was super hard. Like you've seen some shit and clear.
She's cursing now. She's hanging out with me too much.
But
She
in
never
this,
said bad words before she met me.
but in the same breath, as a spouse on the other end, it is nice to be acknowledged of like, hey babe, you've been holding it down. Like the household looks great. For our situation, like we have a dog, we own a gym, like you're doing a lot here around the house, and I just want to say thank you. I see what you're doing. Because I think there can get to be a comparison sometimes in my head of like, my days feel hard. What I'm doing feels hard when he's gone, or what I'm doing, my plate is super full. Now, I don't know what he's going through at the fire station, but I can imagine it's freaking hard, right? So we then have these two different ideas of what our hard day is, and then we come to each other and we're like, well, no, my day was harder. No,
well, yeah, we try to like limit. I mean, we could go back and forth about, who think it's bigger, but we're not gonna pull anything out, like.
yeah.
Do you guys, Eric, maybe this is a question for you, and then we can talk to ladies. Do you ever share? Do you, if there's a tough call, like, do you try to not share? Because I've done a little bit of both, honestly. There's some times where I want to be transparent and say, look, this is what happened. I'm struggling with it. And that sometimes, like you said earlier, our our significant others don't need us to bring home some of that. So where do you stand on that? And if has it worked for you guys in the past?
Okay, so first off, I don't mean to sound like a superhero, or I don't mean to sound like more um, grander than what I really am. But after going to Iraq and experiencing that, everything else like I do on this side is like that's my baseline, right? So experiencing that, going through that, my baseline, everything over here is on the other side is not as significant or as impactful as it was when I was younger. Now that I'm a little bit older, I could, like Megan said, I could compartmentalize stuff and put them in nice little boxes and ribbons and bows and tuck things away. If I do get on a vent, if I do share something with her, to what end? So even most of the times I won't share anything. I'm good. Like there's no need to like I said earlier, kind of just filter and absorb whatever I went through or experienced, as to not like impose any like negative connotations or negative thoughts onto her and what I go through. And so fully transparent, being vulnerable, like I don't want her to view me in a different light
Yeah.
than how she already holds me, right? So once you start complaining and once you go down that rabbit hole, and then there's no end, so to what ends. If it's something nonchalant, oh look, this reminds me of this and that, or like very like again nonchalant. I don't want to make a big deal out of it. So, but no, I don't throw my stuff onto her, and I really don't. I try to like minimize the venting, because sometimes there's like a fine line between venting and complaining, and I choose not to complain because I don't want to be perceived a certain way. So, no, I just hold things in.
I'll just text Megan sometimes, be like, make sure you wear your seatbelt. Things like that. Like, like,
There's
hey,
that.
watch out for people on the side of the street, things like that. Like, I don't need to share you the full details, or never let me buy a motorcycle. Those are texts that I've sent before. Is like crazy things happen, and you don't expect that to happen to your significant other, but they can.
What are your thoughts on that?
I feel sometimes I like to share. I would say like, hey, this is rough to see, but I feel better sharing as I get more experience in the fire service, and kind of I like sharing with my guys, like my 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 people that work with me. We had this conversation maybe last weekend. Said I can tell you exactly what happened, or we can go in super into detail of it. But if you haven't been in this situation of high stress, high trauma, high stakes, it's hard for me to tell you, because I know that you haven't, been there. I know that sounds like I'm being an asshole, but
Not at all.
if I know that you don't have the same experiences that I've had, it's hard for me to kind of even elaborate what was going on. If that makes sense.
Oh, like desensitized,
Yeah.
or I don't try to sound insensitive. I just can't like relive and go through and question my abilities or what just happened on the call, and then to what end? Again, like I'll just tear myself down. Like I said, I just compartmentalized. I did it to I answered the call the best of my ability. I could go to sleep at night, and then I just have to move on. I really can't place myself in that person's shoes, because they elected, most of the time they chose to go down that route, and I can't go down with them, because you know. But I do try to do the best I can, and and I'm able to sleep at night.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sometimes something as simple as, yo, that was a hell of a call. Are you good? Are you okay?
Mhm.
You know? But yeah, man.
I have a question for Megan. Do you know
Uh-oh.
Yeah.
when he's had a bad call and he hasn't shared it with you? Like, can you tell in his energy or in the vibe when he gets home and you have to like ask him?
I think my experience with Riley, I feel like he's a little bit more on the opposite spectrum. Like he does share. Um, I don't feel like I've ever had to ask. There was one incident or like call when he first got, I think he was still on probation, and it was a pretty traumatic call for him, and he was shook up about it. And I think it took him about a day to just be like, I can't talk about it. And, you know, obviously let it be, let it go. And then he ends up talking about the things. And when I say talking about it, it's more of like he shares what happened, and then he is very clear on if the conversation, if I'm a question asker, okay? I'm gonna ask questions. I'm curious Karen over here. I'm like, what, well, how'd you feel? How, you know? And we're so different in that, like, I'm a super feelings person. And I'm like, I'll tell you when my toe hurts, why it hurts. And I mean, and in my opinion, I don't think it's complaining. I'm more just like, here's where I'm at. Like, but all that to say, he'll share, but he'll be like, I don't want to talk about it anymore. And guess what? I know that's my red light, and I don't ask any more questions. I don't take it personally. And what I'm grateful for is throughout the journey we've been on, A, I used to take that personally. And B, I've done the work to not take it personally. He's not meaning that in any ill will towards me, but he's complete, and he said what he needed to say. Let's move on. And I'm clear on that. I also feel like Reilly and I have walked really traumatic things together for like personal life. So going into the fire service at a young age, we were 26, 27, you know, we walked hard things. We've grieved together. We've lost loved ones together. And then he entered the fire service a couple years later. So I think going into it, we've already had to process hard things together, and we knew how to communicate through that. Not saying we knew how to communicate through all hard things, but that was a good baseline for us now when he experiences things or I go through hard things. We just have this level of communication of just being like, we know where each other's at. We share when we need, and we don't share when we don't need.
Yeah, I think it's important, like how you just mentioned, that it's the process of like not taking it personal.
Mm.
Knowing that that person doesn't mean any ill will. Like when they come in, they're just tired or exhausted, or they still have a lot to think about and go through. And like when they just need a second, not to take it personal. But that does take some work, like you said.
Yeah, I mean, there's some jealousy, I think, in the beginning of like, I want to be the person you come to about all hard things. And I want you to be able to feel comfortable and open. And I've had to accept, like, when he goes to the firehouse, like, and his boys, they've gone through something together. That's probably the safest place for him to open up and talk. And I'm not. And that goes back to what he was saying of like, you can only connect with someone to the level of depth that you've gone. And so if we talk about trauma or grief, like you can only connect with that person if you've experiencing something as traumatic or if not more. And so that's what, I can't always connect on that level, but yet he can go to the house or his firehouse and they get it. And it's an unspoken thing. So, yeah.
I've just been lucky to have people that I can talk to, even people not in the fire service. But if I'm just ever want to talk, or we've been better about just picking up the phone and calling each other, that's what you need. You need to find that people that you can talk to.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So we normally are like one non-negotiable for me on shift is like a phone call before bed. Mm-hmm. And last night we got we were watching Saving Private Ryan at the firehouse, and so she called me and she's like, "Hey, what are you doing?" I'm like, "Well, we're watching a movie. This is the middle of the movie, like the climax of the plot, the last 20 minutes." I was like, "Hey, we're watching a movie. Can I call you back?" Or like, "Can I?"
No, he said, "We're watching a movie. I'll see you tomorrow, okay? I love you." And I was like, "Oh, well, how was your day?" And he's like, "Good, but we're watching a movie." And I was like, "All right, I will see you tomorrow."
I'm a human. I'm a human, and it took us about 8 hours to try to watch this whole movie. So, look, I'm out of 10 phone calls. That was the 1 out of 10 where I'm not perfect, but sometimes,
Well, no, then he sees me this morning and he was like, I had a dream last night that we were fighting because I went to bed and I thought you were mad that we got off the phone or something. And I was like, well, I kind of was because I'm more important than a movie, but okay.
Eric, do you dream when you sleep at work? Like, do you ever get into full like dream sleep?
I don't recall.
Mm,
Uh,
Like, do I
or the
sleep
phones
at
go
work?
off and it feels like I'm dreaming, but I actually have a
mm,
call to wake up to.
hmm.
There's
Yeah,
that. That's happened quite often.
like phantom tones.
Yeah, like like I hear noise in the distance. I think I have to get up. I gotta get up.
Well,
Uh,
I normally don't dream at work. Like I just
yeah.
don't get that deep into sleep. So last night I was having crazy dreams, and I was like, I guess I was tired, so that was good.
Did you
We
have
got a
sugar
couple.
before you went to sleep?
What's up?
Did you have sugar? Did you eat anything before you went to sleep? Because that's
I usually,
sometimes.
yeah, usually won't eat like 2 or 3 hours before I go to bed at work. But yeah, I don't know. It's just weird.
Eric touches the pillow and he knocks out right away. It's the most incredible thing I've ever seen in my entire life.
I
Because
will
it takes
say
me like an hour to fall asleep.
when I go home, when I go home, I'll fall asleep instantly like that as well. Like my brain just knows I'm in a place that's kind of more comfortable than work, and it takes me 3 seconds to fall asleep. One thing we do really well is that we keep it really cold at work. So we will cut that AC down real low when we sleep, real dark. So the conditions are really good for sleep. Not that we do it a lot, but when we do, the conditions are great. Super dark, super cold. So I wish that we could afford to keep our air that low at the house, but we can't. But yeah, the conditions are always great, but not always great
It
work
must be hard to
conditions.
like wake up from those conditions, right? Like you're in a deep, nice little sleep, cool air, dark, and now you gotta get up.
I could hear if a cricket went off, I would wake up at work. I have like a super short. I'll wake up fast at work, but I could like our dog will throw up sometimes at night, and she's like, "You didn't hear the dog throw up last night?" And I'm like, no, I didn't even move. I didn't even hear you."
So you run a business together, right?
Hmm.
Yes.
Carolina CrossFit.
Yep.
Yes.
How do you manage that when Riley's on shift and Megan, are you like 100% at the gym at that time?
Yeah. So, I mean, this is my full-time gig. I would say I'm all things managing, operating. So this is my Monday through Friday, Monday through Saturday kind of thing. I tend to, Riley helps. He's the charismatic one. Like he loves the people, right? Like he loves talking. I always say schmoozing.
She
But
calls it that because she's not great at it.
yeah, I can do it, but I have a meter. Like, and 5 days in a row of it, I get peopled out, right? And so when he comes off shift, I feel like that's where he really plays a vital role is just being like the people forward person. He does a lot of coaching development, pouring into our coaches. He helps with education for our coaches. And then I'm a list giver. So it's like, will you just do these things that I need? And it's usually like janitorial things or some social media content, but I really manage every aspect of the business when it comes from like financials, accounting, scheduling. I also do development, growth conversations, memberships. Um, I'm the janitor as well. So like there's a lot of hats to be worn. And sometimes I get into a rhythm where like I'm delegating here and then on the days he's off or on shift, I also like manage household. So then when he comes off of shift, it's like I then have to fill him in on the last 24 hours, like where I need you, what needs to be done. And I will say that's been something that's been challenging in our relationship because we both have always been, I think, in a way, like we've paved our own way in our lives, but we also take direction really well and we like being told what to do. And so my season of life right now is I tell a lot of people what to do. And sometimes I just want to be told what to do. Like, I want a list, I want to check it off. Like, I feel accomplished that way. And so a lot of times our challenge is like, I don't want to always be delegating and managing because then I start to feel like a mother and I'm a wife. um, but again, I think it comes back to that communication aspect. Like, I know he does really well with a list. And if I just give him a list, he checks it off. So I kind of have to swallow I wouldn't say desire, but because that seems like I am, mm, my needs aren't getting met, but they are. It's more of like it's a give and take. Like I have to know like that's how he operates best, and we function better at that level than if I were to just be like, figure it out, keep it, because then he would not figure it out, and I just would get mad, right? So, and that goes with home life and work life. So, it's a constant learning. I'm still trying to master that, but yeah, that's how
Yeah,
our
and
work
then
life.
and Riley, when you get off shift and she gives you this list, what are you thinking?
Oh, I love it. I operate so well like that. That's how work is at the firehouse. Like I have certain duties that I have to do in a chronological order through the day. I have to do my chores, do everything that I need to do. I have a schedule at work. I love it. I love her. Sometimes I don't, I should take a little bit more initiative and not operate off the list. But if she does give me a list, I will do it. Like the first thing about making a list is make a list and you check that off and you move on to the next thing. So that's how I operate better, to be honest.
I don't know if you feel this way. Do y'all live together first?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. And I'm not going to speak for all women, but the women that are in my life that I speak to, I find that women, we just operate, we know everything in our head. We know when the toilets need to be cleaned. We know that the sheets need to be washed. We know the dishwasher needs to be empty. The trash needs to be taken out. Everything needs to be swept. The dog needs to be fed. I mean, I could go on and on and on. And that just runs through our head. And a lot of the stuff we do on autopilot. Well, the minute you join partnership and you live with someone, you're like, ooh, I get to share responsibility. And I think at first I was wanting him to see things that needed to be done before they needed to be done. Like, babe, the trash is full in the bathroom. Just take it out. Like, if you see it full, take it out. Instead, it would have to be like, I have to write it down for you to take it out. And I would get so frustrated about that. And I still sometimes do. And I'm just going off on a tangent now, but I just think, yeah, it just, yeah, the more, that's where I was going with it. The more I talk to other women, I think that's just how we're designed. And I think I've had to be a lot more maybe gracious and just accepting of that like he's not going to see things before I see him because I see everything.
She sees the future.
Number one, but also this is super vulnerable, but I lost my mom when I was 26 and she was a single mom. So I have felt and I've had to kind of pave my way from a young age. So I have felt like parentless for a long time in my life. And there's times where I am projecting my desire to be taken care of more from a parental figure, but yet I don't see it in the moment of like, I want him to take care of me by having things done, doing things for me, like nurturing me in that way that like a mother would. And that is an unfair expectation of him because he is not my mother. He will never be.
That's your
And
love
he
language,
can't, what
right?
was that?
Isn't that your love language, like acts of kindness or
Acts
acts
of
of love,
service.
acts of
Do,
service?
well, do y'all feel, I feel like mine have shifted. Like, and
Right.
because do
So
y'all think they
it's
can
important for you
change?
to understand what your love language is, but you also have to understand what your partner's love language is. And if they don't coincide, if they're like clashing, then that's where the like for lack of a better term, problem lies. Also,
1000%.
with great power comes great responsibility. Sometimes we don't want the responsibility, like because again, just take care of it, do what needs to be done, take the initiative. But that's just like internal though. If you don't voice it, if you don't communicate it, you're just beating yourself up for it. So
There we
1000%.
go. We how do I say this?
just say,
We we're not perfect. Like this is
oh,
what
we're
a
human, dude. I get
yeah,
it.
exactly. This is what a
Yeah,
relationship looks like. And
sometimes we overlook things. And
here's
say,
what
my
I
bad, I'm
was
sorry. Like I
yeah,
didn't
yeah.
know. I'm not a mind reader. But if you were to express it a certain way, then okay, then I comprehend, I understand. But you got so much shit on your plate. I got so much shit on her plate. Megan has so much stuff on her plate. She has so much stuff on her plate. Like it's not easy. Um,
When we were talking about love languages, Megan loves notes. She likes to write notes. She likes to leave me long notes and like she likes to write down her feelings and I love that about her. But she was doing that with intentions of me writing her notes. She wanted me, she was kind of doing that as a green light, like trying to gaslight me into writing her a long
Not gaslight.
Yeah, okay, well, you're trying to tell me that you wanted me to do that without saying that. So forever, I would write four-letter words. I love you, babe. Have a great day. And she wanted this like grandiose love poem and like long script, like a long scroll of love letters, because that's what she gives me, and she wanted that in return. But for the longest time, she wouldn't voice that.
Yeah.
So she was expecting me to know that she needed that from me without saying it. And we've now crossed that bridge, and I write at least maybe 10 words now on the notes, maybe not 5, but we're sometimes we can't read your mind. As a man, we cannot fathom the bandwidth that's going on upstairs. We are running at a very low frequency as men, and
I find
you guys can go way
I
above
don't know. I
the
think it works
bandwidth.
both ways. I kind of feel that works both ways, you know? The communication I think is like the biggest thing. So if you feel something, just say it. And then everything could kind of just be squashed in that sense, right? Like Megan said, you know, I was expecting him to take the initiative to do this. I mean, there's so many times where I'm sure you guys feel the same of us, like, oh, I was expecting you to for this to be done, you know? What are your love languages?
Well, that's what I would say in the last year, I think I've been marinating on that more, because for the longest time it was like words of affirmation, physical touch, and I feel like I just like didn't think about it any longer. But I think lately it is more acts of service, because what am I like frustrated with? It's like things not being done, right? And so I feel like now that we're married and we live together, it's like coming home to the kitchen being clean and the dishwasher being emptied without having to write it down or tell is like, oh my God, amazing, right? The trash is out without me having to ask. Wonderful. So like, I truly think I have shifted more to like an acts of service has.
People are gonna think that I don't do anything in our
Oh my
house.
goodness. You no, you do if I list it, you know, which is I think more common than not.
I
Maybe,
sure
I don't know. How's your household?
I think that we kind of like know what we each do, and sometimes, you know, like we'll pull through for each other on certain things. Like obviously if the trash has to be out, and I remember because I'm so terrible about the trash, you know, and he's on shift and I'll take it out. But normally that's something that he's always done. I hate folding clothes. I hate folding clothes.
We
I'll
just
wash
talked
all
about
the
this the other
clothes.
day.
I'll wash all the dishes, but I hate to fold the clothes. And like with his 4 loads a week, that has been something that, because I'm like a 1 load a week type of girl. Like I have enough workout clothes to go for the entire week, so I just do 1 load at the end of the week.
That was
Um,
part of that brain doing the hard things, folding the laundry.
But you know, like he'll come in and he'll help me fold the clothes if he sees that I'm like a little bit falling behind. I think for the most, he's super clean, so he likes to clean up anything as we go. I think like our flow for the most part is try to keep it as clean as possible presently, so that it doesn't all stack up and add up, and then we have to like really get into
Yeah.
the weeds of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, so for the most part, I'll just take initiative. If something needs to be done, I'll just do it. I'm so used to it. I've lived on my own for a long ass time, so I'm already like self-sufficient, and I really don't need to be told what to do. Plus, I just like a tidy house. I don't like clutter, so much clutter on the house just translates into my real life, which, you know, I try to declutter everything and put everything in its place. And if I leave something behind, like I left it here, I expect it to be here. Yeah.
This is something we struggle with because let's say I have this necklace from like a Saint Florian necklace that I wear when I'm on shift. I will always wear it when I'm at work. I put it somewhere.
Because he can't remember where he put it. I'll put that, insert that.
I put it somewhere where I remembered.
He
And
didn't.
then when I went to go find it with that place, it was put somewhere else. And now Meg doesn't remember where she put it.
exactly.
I'm gonna
That's literally my least favorite thing of all
I'm gonna
time.
plead the fifth and just not comment on anything unless we really want to get into it. So
So there's that, right? Because I leave something behind. I placed it here. I remember it here. I think it's a good suitable place for it. I expect it to be there next time I'm gonna grab it. It's not there. So, but yeah,
A bridge that we're crossing right now is that we're pretty low maintenance. We don't own a lot of things. Like we don't have a lot of stuff, which is cool with us, but we're welcoming this little one into the world. We're already accruing more things at a rate that is making both of us like nervous. We don't want this much stuff in our house. And people are always trying to get rid of their old baby stuff. Like, oh yeah, you need this thing that's been sitting in our garage. Like they really just want to get it out of their garage. They're like, no, but you need it. And now we have like part of our office in the gym now has like baby, like a high chair in there. And we're like, I don't know if we really even need this stuff. But yeah, all the baby things are coming to our house soon, which we're excited for. But what do you really need? Like the baby, what does the baby really need?
wipes, diapers, whatever sustenance is gonna require. But you're breastfeeding. I don't know if that's too personal or not, but
yeah, I hope to. I mean, the more I'm learning, I'm definitely in an education season right now, but you know, I think that's why would I won't say every woman's, but I think that is a natural desire. I think we're built to breastfeed, and I pray that I can. You know, I know there are some complications where some females can't. There are some females that opt out of it completely. I pray that I have endless milk supply and that I can nourish my baby. And I have to be open and like surrender to the fact that there may be complications. But yes, I would love to breastfeed.
so thank you for that. Other than that, baby rash, like Desitin or whatever baby rash ointment, and lots of diapers, lots of wipes, wipes, formula if y'all choose that route. But yeah, just food for the baby and onesies and clothes and its own like crib.
A crib, a stroller, a car seat.
Brother, a car seat.
Yeah.
There are things like
We bought a car seat. We bought a
We did.
stroller and a car seat, and we felt like adults. We
Yeah.
felt like we were really doing the damn thing.
Yeah.
I've never bought anything like that.
Yeah.
So have you guys talked about how you're gonna manage a new baby coming in?
Honestly,
Work schedules and, you know.
well, I'm gonna take some time. Like they're gonna take some time away from the department, and we plan on just spending some time at home.
Yeah.
I don't know if you want to go into that.
Yes, we are planning to have a home birth, so I will be at home. Hope again, back to the breastfeeding thing. That is our hope, and that is what we are set up to do with our midwife currently, and being open and surrendering to the fact that a healthy baby and a healthy mom is what the end goal is. And if complications arise and we need to be transported, we have a plan to do so. But yeah, we'll take time away from the gym. He'll take some time from work. It's really in this phase of like unknown, and this can go towards training, towards work. Like I don't know what it's gonna be like, and I think we haven't really talked about it of like what it's gonna look like, because it does still feel so. October 27th is our due date. It feels in the future, so I think we've been trying to be really present to where we're at. And like our most recent milestone was our anatomy scan last weekend and finding out that it was a boy, or it is a boy.
Never been so glad to see a penis in my life.
Yeah. He's
The
so
only one I've ever
excited
been
to
happy to see, but my own.
Yes. But I'm sure that conversation will come of like more so tasks and how we're going to handle our baby, our newborn, night shift work. I know he's going to be no stranger of getting up in the middle of the night, so I'm grateful for that. But truly, we haven't really talked about roles and responsibilities.
I'm pretty sure we're just gonna fuck around and find out.
Yeah.
Like it's gonna be bullets flying. We're just gonna figure it out. And guess what? That's probably some of the best advice that I've gotten, is that you will figure it out. Like, but you have to go through it to figure it out. So,
Right.
when the first couple of weeks are gonna be madness.
And I feel like in all that we've been talking about, like communication has been, especially when you're talking about partnership and then, you know, being with a first responder, like how do y'all, is that something you continually work on, is being open in your communication? Or have you guys always, did you guys meet at a place in life where you were super communicative and knew how to express yourself and like work together in that?
So I'll answer this on my behalf. Is communication something I need to work on a daily basis? Just something that I struggle with, for lack of a better term. I really don't talk much. I'm trying to get better at it, but I know that through my actions, they speak volumes as compared to what I'm going to regurgitate or say. Because I can say one thing and do another, and then my credibility is out the window. So I'd rather just act, and just keep my mouth shut. But it's not possible when you have a daughter, a little lady that you're in charge of, and then you have a significant other that requires communication. So it's a battle, like within me, to like sometimes have to force me to talk. I don't want to talk. That's the first thing I want to do. So I try to work on that every single day and try to put my thoughts into words and express myself. That way they can understand what I'm going through, or, you know, make my message understood. Because I could say X, Y, and Z, but if you don't comprehend what I'm saying, then it's in vain what I'm speaking. So something that I struggle with, that I'm working on.
I feel like I'm like Megan a lot. Like I'm a big question asker, and I don't know if this is like a woman thing, because I'm not sure that men are like this. I think women, for some reason or another, like we're just more curious. We want to know where you're at, where's your headspace at, because I think that we know like when we're a certain way emotionally and we want that person to understand. I think like we're trying to achieve the same thing from them, and not everybody's like that. I'm a big communicator. I think everybody's different, so sometimes I could be too much, and I know that. I could be like, I want more. No, let's really get deep into it, and that could be a lot for a person, any person. A lot of my past relationships, like with my parents, with my family members, that have almost been lost, have always been recovered through really good communication and sitting down, even if it's like hours. Like I didn't really have a great relationship with my dad for a while there, and I said, oh well, this could go one of two ways. Either I can like really sit down with him and like talk it out, or like that will be the end of our relationship. And that worked out beautifully. And I was scared shitless because, you know, I wasn't sure where that was gonna go. But communication, I guess, is like, yeah, for me, it's like one of the biggest things. And we're still learning how to properly do that together. Him being his way and me being my way. Like I'm way too pushy and he's a little more laid back with it. But
We're still figuring
we're
out
working
too.
at it.
I've known Megan for more than a decade, and it's a, like I said, it's a constant craft. It's a constant everyday battle, to show up for your partner. You just find better ways to do it, and you can teach old dogs new tricks. So we're trying to learn and adapt, and I can speak for me and probably speak for Eric. We want to show up for you guys the best way that we can. Sometimes we don't know how. Like we're trained a certain way, or we think a certain way, but we don't know how the best way to show up is sometimes. But we try our best, and if you give us a little direction, we'll go a long way. For me personally, at least.
That's fair. That's
I-
fair.
How did you guys meet?
We met at the gym.
No, that's where we found each other, man. I feel like that's the best women. You find them at the gym. So any relationship advice, find your woman at the gym, not at the bar.
Yes, sir.
The barbell.
Yeah, maybe the barbell.
I was at a phase in my life where it was no bars, no clubs, and just grinding and self betterment, making myself better, and it was at the gym.
So Megan and I Megan denied me 3 times before she would go out on a date with me. So I asked her out 3 different times and she said no. Because I mean, I probably wasn't living right. I was a young guy, in college, and, wasn't really doing the Lord's work, as I would say. And it just, honestly, when the timing was right, AKA when Megan thought it was she liked me back at least. We finally went on a date, and obviously we had a pretty long, lengthy up and down relationship before we got married, but we weren't even dating when we got engaged. So I've been living in Arizona, and I was moving back to South Carolina, and Megan and I hadn't talked probably in a close to a calendar year. We hadn't spoke to each other. I was seeing someone else, but things changed pretty quickly, and I was wanted to move back home for a fire department job, and I hadn't spoken to Megan in probably a couple months, and I'd give her a call and say, "Hey, I'm driving across the country. Will you come with me?" And that moment was like the catalyst, because if Meg says no, we never get married. Like we never do anything that we're doing right now. So it seems crazy that that one decision led to everything else. She said yes. Went and bought a engagement ring. She comes. We start the drive. We're probably early into the trip of the drive, and we get married at the Zion National Park, which is really beautiful. And if she would have said no, it would have made for a very long road trip all the way to South Carolina. So I'm glad she said yes. But for me, like I had to do a lot of growth. I had to do a lot of growing to be the best partner I can for Megan. And certain times I would self-sabotage. So if our relationship was going great, I would find a reason to ruin it. And I think a lot of that was just like fear of missing out. Like I thought if I got married that I would lose out on experiences or things that I thought that were worth value, but I finally got through that. And I also had to realize that I'm not my parents. Like I never had a good example of what a good marriage looks like. My parents are divorced, my grandparents are divorced, my sister is divorced. So I just had a lot of data that would lead me to think that maybe marriage isn't the best thing. But I had to realize that I'm not my parents. I'm not my parents, I'm not my sister. My relationships are going to be the work that I'm willing to put into them. And that's it. It's on an individual level of what your relationships look like. So yeah, we did a lot. I did a lot of work and figure some shit out, and thank goodness she decided to come on that trip with me, or I don't know where the hell I'd be right now. So yeah, thank you for saying yes to that.
Well,
What a
I was
great
gonna.
story.
What's
What
up?
was that?
I said, what a great story.
Yeah, we're gonna sell
Story.
it to Hallmark, or like we're gonna sell it to ABC Family or some cheesy shit like that. They'll buy it.
No, I was gonna say because with the common theme of meeting in the gym, I know there's some people out there, and with the fire service, with his department, you have different levels of people being into fitness or not into fitness, or the partner is or one partner is, one partner isn't, and I think maybe both of us couples can speak to like the power when you and your partner are on the same page with what it means to not only physically move your body, but be mentally sound, feed it well, like the sleep thing, all things health. Like I just feel like people will really value what we have to say of like how important that is, because there's many people I know that their schedules are so different and their patterns are so different with their spouse. Like one common thing is our sleep. Like we both value sleep. And so it's not a non-negotiable.
There it is.
We go to bed early at night, like 8 o'clock. It's a race till we're trying to go in bed before the sun goes down, and we love it. But like, there's some people who are like, well, my wife or husband or boyfriend, like they love to watch TV until midnight, and I want to be in bed and have intimate time or whatever. So I just wanted to maybe speak on that. I feel like people will find value in this conversation.
Go.
Something you said about being a person worthy and deserving of the partner that you have today. That hits, bro. Because you have to be at a certain point in life to reciprocate and receive the same level of love, admiration, companionship, because if you're anything lesser, you're not deserving of it, you're not worthy of it, so you get what you deserve. And let's say if I was out and about doing XYZ, I would have never met Mel, I was on a different wavelength. But it just so happened because we were on the same wavelength that, we were compatible and we built something that hopefully is everlasting. Um, so yeah, that whole like I'm watching TV and your partner's in bed, that's a discrepancy that I don't know where that could.
Yeah.
That's I'm into fitness and my partner is not into fitness. It's not gonna work.
Mm.
Yeah.
It's not gonna work out. I eat clean and you eat like a fat ass. It's not gonna work.
Not gonna
You're
work.
right.
It's not gonna work. So the red flags are there, and I've experienced enough red flags in prior relationships to know like, oh, this is not gonna work. I know where this leads. I've been here before, you know. So honesty saves everyone's time.
Yes.
Be honest, you know.
Yep.
So
I think I've gotten, yeah, or you go, Mel. I know you had something to say.
So I think when it comes to sleep, I think we're more or less the same. I really struggle to sleep. I always have because I have been a night owl for like my entire life. My creative mind starts at 9 o'clock, and that's when I'm like, I want to get on the computer. But now I try to wake up early. It's been like a few years, like about 3 years that I've been trying the 5 a.m. thing. It has taken me a long time to get there, and sometimes I really do struggle to get up. I know there's people like him, if he has to get up, he'll do it no matter what, whether he's like dragging ass or not. If I know that I have a flexible day, like I might just snooze and wait till I can, it just depends on my body. Um, I love to sleep, but for the most part, yeah, we try to get to bed like at the same time. The TV is like it's horrible because if you do get into a show, you don't want to shut it off and you don't realize how tired you are until the next morning when you're like, why didn't I turn off the TV an hour ago? And going back to your other point, you know, being on the same wavelength, like it's not just about health and it's not just about like the fitness, but where do you see yourselves, business wise? Like you guys have a business, right? Maybe things wouldn't be the same if Megan was running the business and Reilly was off doing something else, so like everything business, health, food, like it all kind of has to come together.
Yes.
Make
I
it work.
think for me, all about perspective, right? And reminding myself when days feel hard or shift work feels hard or relationship struggles. Like I'm so grateful that we have a lot of the same morals, values, the low hanging fruit of like the just again the way we eat, the way we sleep, the way we train, the way we think, the way we goal set. Because sometimes because it's so automatic for us and we've been this way and we work so well together in that, I think I can take for granted those simple things that feel simple, but like other people really struggle with. Like, say he came off shift and I was not as motivated, and I'm like, babe, you don't need to go to the gym. Like, come on, sleep. You got it. Like, come on, let's go get right. But like, there are first responders out there, or the vice versa. Like, the first responder gets off and he just wants, or he or she wants to just like, eat donuts, go to sleep, and then the other partner's like, no babe, let's go move, let's go out for a walk, let's like it can get super conflicting. So just full circle back to like first responder life, being a partner, I think those values are so important to be on the same page on, because we live a high stress life. You all put yourself at risk every 48 hours. And the last thing you or your partner needs is to come off shift from high stress to then go into more stress of just like what I think is low level hanging fruit to be on the same page of. If you're not, it's just like then your life is one big stress ball, right? And so I think it's super important to have an environment for our first responders when they come off shift of like sanctuary. Like I remember he came off shift one day, it was a Sunday, and like I had the lights right, I had incense going, like I was having me a Sunday morning. And I remember him saying something, and he's only said it once, but he was just like, man, I never realized how important it is to come home and the home be in this environment. Like this is feels so good to come home to. And like little things like that, not taking for granted, and making sure that again, it's just a non-stressful environment for our men and women.
Mm-hmm.
well,
Yeah.
we mature with experience and trauma, not necessarily age. I wanted to say something, but totally lost my train of thought.
I
Uh,
just went on a tangent. That's why.
yeah, it was lovely.
It was.
Well,
It was.
I think it's funny. Look at the people. Look at our partners, Eric. Like I think our mindsets are similar. We're very disciplined. We're very, direct to the point. We want to work hard. We want to do our job. But we found these like emotional partners that have like 100% feeling capacity, and we're like, yeah, yeah, cool,
They compliment us.
yeah,
I can honestly say I wouldn't be here today if it wasn't for Mel. I mean,
mm,
uh, the training gear, movement, mission,
hmm
my documentation of my 75 hard journey on YouTube, the YouTube channel, this very podcast,
hmm
it would not be possible if it wasn't because, I have her by my side. So she deserves all the credit in that.
I think that
But also, it wouldn't be possible if he didn't dog himself. So
mm,
really, like both, none would
yep.
exist without the other. It's like kind of a.
Yes.
Meg's also like my biggest mirror. Like she shows me where I'm lacking at as well. Like she compliments me and builds me up at the same time, but she shows me where my flaws are. And I think that makes a great partner as well. It was like the Justin Timberlake song Mirrors.
Yeah.
I'm a big JT fan, don't tell anyone. But yeah, she shows me where I need to grow, which I love that. Like she tells me where I fall short sometimes. I need that.
My blind spots.
Yeah,
That's what I like
blind
to
spots.
say.
Yeah,
I can't see them.
and sometimes that's like, hey, don't talk like that, or hey, that we're not at the firehouse anymore, or hey, we need to have this tough conversation, which sometimes is a huge mirror. And I, thank goodness, right? Thank goodness. Um, yeah. So
I feel the same.
yeah.
I have such an important question because you guys kept
Ooh,
saying feeding, and I'm like, how do you feed yourselves? Like, who cooks? How do you,
oh, that's a good question.
what? Like, as a woman, I don't want to cook all the time,
Mm.
but I kind of feel like it's super necessary, or I won't, period. What are your
Mm-mm.
thoughts, Megan?
You are talking to pregnant Megan right now, okay? I'm going to tell you that. For again, I think the majority of our relationship, we're so locked in the same way we eat of like we can eat the same thing on rotation in the sense of like meat, rice, veggie, meat, right, eggs, beef, chicken. Like it can just be some variation of potato and like we're both super happy and we've operated like that for a long time. The minute I got pregnant and like weeks into it, I would just say like flavor, right? Or I got into a phase where I was just like, I don't want to cook for myself. And I'm usually so good at like, I can just eat what I have. But I know I can't count on him to cook something. Like, and I know that sounds so bad. Like, he will cook me ground beef and rice, no salt, no nothing, and present that to me.
Look, I'm a robot. I could eat the same thing every day and it wouldn't bother me at all. Like,
I would be lying if there was sometimes, and I love you so much, Riley Cole, in so many ways. And like, there's sometimes where I'm just like, I wish I would get home and he had steaks on the grill and just something going in the oven. And I get home and he's just like, babe, I cooked this dinner for you on Friday night. I came up with this all on my own.
I'm taking notes. Man. I'm taking notes.
Like, I mean, and in the moment, that's just like setting me on fire. Like, I would just be running through a wall. But that doesn't happen.
What I see, like food for me is fuel. Like food is something that doesn't really bring me a lot of joy. Like it's something that I need to continue to do the things that I want to do. So I'm not thinking about flavor profiles and I don't give a shit about any of that. So like for me, food is not like a vessel of love. It's a vessel of fuel. So you know what I'm saying? Food is not a love language of mine. And I'm happy with eating bland food that gives me what I need. I'll admit it. They make fun of me at work about that shit, and I don't care.
I'm right there with you.
I mean,
Yeah.
he's super simple. The
Simple.
same thing as
The
well.
the less condiments and the less garbage I have on my plate, the better off I am.
Yeah.
Rice, chicken, rice, beef. Real simple. Like
Every
real
day, and
bland.
it wouldn't bother me at all.
Bother me.
It's the same thing.
Yeah.
I think that's
See,
where I struggle a little bit. I'm like, oh, this again? I don't know. It's
Eric, I think we also would do really well in prison because that's how prison is as well.
Well, it comes from being a fat ass when I was younger, that I used to like put cheese fries in to make a sandwich out of.
Mm.
Cheese fries and bread and sauce and butter on everything and ketchup on everything. And it's like, I don't want to resort to that. I've done that. I've moved on. I know better now. I'm doing better. And I know if I just keep my meal simple, then I don't have to like overcomplicate things. And this is one thing less I have to worry about. I mean, it's real straightforward. I keep things simple because it's less stress on my life. One less thing I have to worry about. Real, that's it.
And I think that's exactly how Riley feels. And I get it. Like I hear that fully. And I think if I peel back the onion, it's more like I sometimes desire, I'm going to butcher this word, like spontaneity.
Spontaneity.
Got it.
Spontaneity. Yeah, like something different in our week, right? And
I've been taking you on a lot of dates
well,
lately.
I was gonna say, like, he's been really, especially because again, I would say I'm more pre-pregnancy like robotic, and it would be like once every 2 months we'd need something different, and then lately it's like every other week I'm like, I gotta change our food up, I gotta change our like what we're drinking, like things of that nature, and he's done a really good job at like doing a date night, like a Friday night. Hey, let's go out to eat somewhere, or hey.
You want ice cream.
Yeah, like just like little things like that. So
Dairy-free ice cream. Let's be honest, you can't have dairy, so it's, imitation ice cream.
yeah, but I do get it. I mean, he operates like that too, Mel. And I don't know. There's some weeks I'm really good with it, and I'm just like, okay, I'll bring the flavor. I'll bring something, and he'll eat it. Like it's not like he won't eat meals that aren't chicken and rice, but it's not something he's going to create. And then also you said something powerful about like emotional eating, like it is fuel for you. It's not something of like bringing you joy. And I think that's something to just understand. And that was good for me to hear too, of like, that's just how you think about food. Whereas, if you meet someone who's a chef or like it is all about the experience. It is all about the flavor. I didn't marry someone like that. So I can't expect him to want to be that or cook me this flavorful, juicy steak. Like, so that was just good for me to
We
hear.
just watched Ratatouille,
Yeah.
the Disney movie the other day, and I'm like, look, I'm never gonna be Ratatouille, all right? I don't got it like that.
I would love a rat to cook for me.
Something, if it's good.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Do you think we have any other questions that, a family member or a spouse might ask?
I will say, as a first responder, and I'm just speaking for myself here, like if you're a family member of a first responder, if we want to talk about it, we'll talk about it. Like, don't try to bring like some other story that you have relatable to something. Like we don't want to talk about it. This is a release for us, like we're trying to live like a normal life. So don't ask me what's the worst thing I've ever seen, or like tell me a crazy story. Like I don't want to do that. Like I got my own ghosts. I don't want to bring them to my family reunion. You know what I'm saying? Like don't do that. I don't enjoy that, to be honest.
I got asked that very same question last shift by a student writer, by a student.
Wow.
And I was like, this motherfucker.
Yeah, it's
How
a
I
tough
like
question.
relived. I had to go through my Rolodex of calls, and it was like, at the end of the story, I told him, I was like, hey man, thanks for asking that question. You just
Really?
made me, motherfucker.
Mm.
Yeah. So, I mean, they're oblivious. They don't know any better.
Yeah.
Yes.
What story can I tell you that would impress you? Story can I tell you that you haven't seen in the movies, or you haven't seen like in a real life like scenario? Like, I was like,
I really won't answer it, and I'm not really into like even within the fire service, like trading stories at the table of really bad. Like we're not trying to out trauma each other. Like we all got shit, Like we all got tough stories and tough calls. Like don't try to scare the new guy. Like because I was the pro be sitting at the table while they're like trading all these stories, and like don't ruin their experience with your bad experience. That really got to me when I was a probationer. I would get up and leave the table, to be honest. Like I'm not here to hear your tough stories. So be careful with what you even within the fire service, like don't ruin someone's career with your bad goals. They're gonna have them. They're gonna experience that themselves when the time comes. So I'm not a big proponent of that.
It's powerful. I mean, again, I think this is good stuff for people to hear because, again, being on the other side of the coin and not living through the things you all live through on a day-to-day basis, I think it can come from a place of curiosity. Not all the time. Not all the time. And sometimes it's ignorant. Sometimes it's pure ignorance. And I think that's just me being like, everyone's coming from a good place, and I know that's not always the case. But I think that's super valid for y'all to feel and to say and express and for people to hear. Just being mindful of the questions you ask, the stories you tell when it comes to first responders. And I think that's powerful. On the spouse side of things, your person's more intimate with you. So like take that with a grain of salt, and you open that communication with your partner. I feel like the biggest theme of our conversation today has just been about communicating. You can only communicate to the depth that you know yourself. And so for all the individuals out there who are in a partnership or working on themselves to be in a partnership, and you end up with the first responder, if you continue to learn yourself and know your triggers and know how you best communicate, how you best receive, you can only show up better for your person. And so just keep doing the work in yourself, and then love your people hard. Like you don't know what's to come. And at the end of the day, I love Reilly so much. And so all of the frustrations, all of the challenges, because there's a ton, right? We're human. But I have to remind myself that like I love him and I wouldn't choose anyone else in this life. And I'm grateful we get to do this life together. So
Don't have to.
Get to, don't have to.
So, to all the viewers and listeners out there, the Uncivil Mentality Podcast, thank you for joining us. On behalf of myself, Erik Vidal,
And I'm Reilly Kilbride. Get after it. Get in your gear. Start training. It can never be enough.